Oh, did you remember to blow out the candles?
No.
Mom, Dad, I blew out the candles.
Do you trust her?
She probably tried.
Yeah, I blew them out.
Let me check.
Camera is on.
Ah, looks like she got it. Good job, girlie. This is the Dreame X40 Ultra, and it is chock full of features. And spoiler alert, it pretty much closes every gap that I've found in previous robot vacuums that I've taken a look at. Now let me start this video off by saying I'm just a regular guy. I don't specialize in robot vacuums. What you're not gonna get here is some scientific test where I dump out 60 grams of sand and into some carpet and then we run the robot vacuum over it. You're not gonna get that here. I do have 2 dogs, they shed a ton. I've been waging war on dog hair for the better part of 10 years with robot vacuums. I also have 2 kids that will inconveniently leave cords and toys and who knows what around the house that would trip up most robot vacuums. And I'm trying to inform you and equip you so you can make a good decision on what robot vacuum you should get with your hard-earned money. Nowadays, most high-end robot vacuums will do kind of a suite of similar things. They're all gonna vacuum. Most of them are going to mop as well. They'll go back to their base and they'll empty their dustbin and they'll clean their mops. And the 40X Ultra is no exception. It can do all of that and more and improves on some of the most basic functions of these robot vacuums. So now let's get into the things that really set this robot vacuum apart. I'm gonna break it into 3 main parts. We're gonna talk about the vacuum, we're gonna talk about the base, and then we're gonna end with talking about the app. So first up, let's talk about probably the biggest improvement with this robot vacuum versus others in that it can swing out its side brush and its mop to get really hard to reach areas, especially in corners. Most robot vacuums these days are round, and so they're gonna struggle to really get in that corner. This side brush will extend out into that corner to make sure that it gets every little bit of debris in that corner. It also can swing one of its mops out to the side to make sure that it's also getting really close along edges, getting around furniture legs. It does an excellent job of that. And even under some furniture, like this dresser that I have here, it has a little gap at the bottom, and this robot vacuum will swing its little mop underneath that thing and make sure that it's cleaning ever so slightly underneath my piece of furniture. Now this was really hard to show on camera, so you might have to just take my word for it, but this robot vacuum can lift its vacuum and its side brush up when it's in mop only mode. We'll talk more about the modes when we get to the app, but essentially if you are just mopping or if you had it in a vacuum and then mop mode, it will lift the vacuum and lift the side brush so that if you were going over something that's really wet or a spill or something like that, it's not gonna vacuum up the liquid or whatever you're going over, salsa maybe, into the actual dirt bin. Again, minor little things like this, very well thought out. It also has excellent obstacle avoidance. So it has sensors on the front. It also has a camera as well as an LED light so that it can light up dark areas. So it's trying to detect things like cords or dog mess. It's even gonna use that camera to try to determine if an area is dirtier than another. And depending on what cleaning mode you're in, it can go back to that area and try to clean it again. So just taking that obstacle avoidance and that camera to the next level. One of the things that's most important to me is that this thing is quiet. I don't love that on some of the other channels, what you're gonna see in some reviews is they're just gonna say, hey, this is the maximum suction. Look what this thing can pick up. You might run your vacuums at maximum suction. I do not. Most of the time when I'm running these vacuums, we're home and I do not want to be disturbed. I don't want them to be loud. And so I usually run them in the standard mode. Typically in the standard mode, you get good battery life and good performance as well. And this is no exception. It does very well just in the standard mode. It'll pick up all the dog hair off of my hard floor and my rug, and it'll kick up the suction just a bit on the rug. And you can set that again in the app to say, hey, these are specific things you can do on the rug versus on the hard floor. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Hey, if you're finding this video helpful at all, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I've also noticed that this robot vacuum has a very large battery and it lasts for quite a while it's running, even when it is mopping, it's vacuuming and spending battery to move those side brushes and mop out to the side. It still runs for a very long time. So it has very good battery performance. And again, like most robot vacuums these days, when the battery gets low, it'll go right back to its base and start to recharge. Which brings me to the base. So let's talk about the base now. This thing will vacuum out the bin of your robot vacuum into a bag. It has a huge bag. Even with 2 dogs and a bunch of pet hair, this thing is lasting me weeks before I actually have to replace the bag. Something that might kind of go under the radar here is that mop washing board is actively cleaning itself as it's cleaning those mops. So again, another small feature that's gonna be more time between you having to actually take action with this robot because it's less things for you to do. And maybe my favorite thing about this base, which this is again gonna seem small, but it's the detergent dispenser. They do not require a proprietary cleaner like a lot of other brands, so you can use whatever detergent you want, and it's gonna add that into the water for the cleaning that it's putting into the robot vacuum. Also, I believe it's using that detergent when it's washing the mops as well. So that dirty water that you're collecting in that dirty water pail is gonna have a little bit of detergent in it. That sounds like a waste, but learn from my experience here. I've had mopping robot vacuums. I have dogs. They clean up whatever dogs are leaving on the floor, and that water can start to smell terrible. Usually I'm pretty good about it, and once the robot vacuum mops, I'll immediately go and empty the dirty water pail. Sometimes, maybe most of the time, I forget to do that, and it can be days or even a week before I remember to go, oh shoot, let me go empty the dirty water pail. Well, take it from me, do not do that, because when I open that thing up to empty it, it can smell horrific. But something that I've noticed, I tried this on purpose, is that I had this thing mop my entire house. I did not empty out the dirty water pail for a week. I opened it up and I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't stink. It actually smelled more like the detergent. Now, it didn't smell amazing, but it wasn't near what some of these other robot vacuums have smelled like. So that was actually a really minor thing that I've learned in using this thing to clean my house. Again, I'm just a regular guy using this vacuum to clean my house as I normally would, and that's something that I picked up on. This next item is more of a vacuum-based hybrid because it's as the vacuum goes back for charging. If you manually pick up the vacuum to do something, let's say clean it or whatever, and you want to put it back on the base. I've actually had other robot vacuums where I haven't aligned them perfectly. They're not charging, they die, and then a day or two later I figure it out and I get it exactly right to make sure it's charging. This one, you put it down, you push it into the base, and then it kind of takes over and it makes sure that it backs up into those contacts to make sure that they're touching and that it is charging. So I really like that. It's such a minor little thing. Again, another well thought out, well engineered feature just to make your life easier so that when you want to use that vacuum, it's not accidentally dead because it wasn't on the base just right. Now, let's talk a little bit about the app. There are just so many things to talk about with this app. Generally speaking, almost everything I've talked about is adjustable in the app. It has the quick mapping, which you definitely want to see. It's got schedules. It's got settings specifically for carpet, settings specifically for hard floors. You can even have it do this kind of, well, I showed it in the intro, but this kind of sentry security thing. You can schedule this thing just to patrol your house. You can have it take pictures of your pets while it's cleaning. I also like that in the app, it'll actually have a little icon where it's cleaned with an obstacle or something like that. You can click on it, it'll show you a little picture of it and how certain it is that it is that item. Also, you can have it clean with the grain or with the grain and then across the grain if you're doing more of a deep clean. It also has this AI cleaning feature where it's gonna try to determine the cleanliness level and also based on the room, how it's gonna clean. I kind of like to just manually set, hey, I want you to clean this room, I want you to vacuum at this level, mop at this level. But if you want it to decide, it can absolutely do that for you. It also has the most number of settings for a mop that I've ever seen. So you can determine the wetness of the mop that you want. And it is a broad scale, so you get to pick that. You can also set, hey, go back and wash your mop after this many square feet or whatever. It has tons of features. I'm not even scratching the surface. Generally, it's a well laid out, well thought out app. It's very easy to use. Overall, the Dreame X40 Ultra is just a powerhouse of cleaning capability to bring into your home. It has every feature that I'm looking for in a robot vacuum currently, and for you, for a top of the line flagship model, this has everything that you could ask for. If you're considering getting a robot vacuum or have a years old vacuum and considering upgrading, you cannot go wrong with the Dreame X40 Ultra. Again, I'm just trying to equip you with information so that you can make the best decision with your hard-earned money. If you're interested in the Dreame X40 Ultra, I'm gonna have links in the description below. I hope this video was informative and that you learned something so that you can make a good decision. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch Break It Yourself. I know there are zillions of other options out there. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to thumbs me up, and we will see you next time.